Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to another live here over on the channel. Sorry about it. I am under the weather, so don't mind me if we're a little short tonight. But let me just check, make sure we're live. A little and that you guys can hear me. Alrighty, let's kind of jump into it. I try to create a poll on the screen. I don't know if you'll be able to click the poll. I'm confused. He said, "Hey, Kotex Sita needs some flames in the thumbnail." Yeah, I got some craziness stuff going on, right? He said, "Yeah, I had a flu bug these past 2 weeks." Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I have been under the weather, so we'll see what happens tonight. See how long I can go before I need to take it down. I was thinking about coming on a little bit earlier, but we'll see what happens. But thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. Again, I have a poll on the screen. How are you feeling about this current housing market? I don't know if you guys are able to click the poll, so I don't know. If not, I'll just take it down because I'm trying to figure out something in this StreamYard, but I don't know how to do anything. But anyway, thanks for joining the live discussion here every Sunday, if possible, 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also hit that like button. And if you're watching the video on replay and you see the shooting star below, which is called hype button, please don't be shy to hype the channel. So hyping the channel and liking the channel helps us to go through the algorithm so that we can be in conversation with other YouTube channels. And also you can find other people that you may relate to based off of these discussions that we have over here on this channel. Okay, you said no poll, you don't see the poll. All right, it's showing on my end, so what I'll do is I'll take it down. So maybe it's not showing on your end. So let me see, stop poll. There we go. Okay, I don't know where it went. It's showing on my end. I'll just take it off. I put stop poll, so it's no point of having it up if there is no poll for you guys to be able to utilize. But anyway, let's jump right into it. Outside of the home sellers seeing profits dropping, we like to just talk about where these rates are at right now. So if somebody is in the current market of trying to purchase or sell, because what I have learned is that it goes both ways in regards to talking to people throughout the last couple months when it comes to selling and buying, is that they want those interest rates to be lower. But as we all know, interest rates are not going down no time soon unless this economy goes to the crappers. So let's look at these interest rates and let's see where they're at. So right here, 30-year fix is at conventional 6.44. 15-year conventional 6.01, 30-year jumbo 6.59, the ARM is 6.05, the FHA is 5.92, and the VA is 5.94. As you guys probably know, that they actually have gone up since the last time we were live, and then they went back down. So let's just go and get a quicker view. Excuse me if I'm sniffling and might cough during this live. I apologize in advance. Like I said, I am under the weather, and I have been the last couple of days. So I also apologize for people who have been emailing and calling as well. I'm trying my best to get back to them, but I have been taking NyQuil and I have been in and out of sleep for the last couple of days, you guys. So bear with me as I get through this, okay? So as you guys can know, the last slide I think when we came around last time, we were around like 6.32 with that conventional originally. And then as you guys can see, it has gone up. It went up to 6.50 and then it's gone back down to 6.45 and 6.44. So as you guys can see, it's not showing you all of it. I wish it would, but it's not showing you all of it. I was going to try to see where it was at a couple of years. Let me see up here. We can go Let me see if it'll take me back a little bit. So as you guys can see, it is down. So you'll keep hearing different reports saying interest rates have fallen down. But as you can see right here, they went back up to to August 2025 levels at 6.5. And then it's gone down, and then it went all the way down. in the beginning of like February and like 2026-ish, back into the sixes, fives per se, 5.99. And then as you guys can see, it's hovering back up. And we all know the reason why these rates are going up and down is because of the conflict happening throughout the world and the uncertainty which is happening in regards to the inflation and what's happening. So that's all that we have in regards to the rates. Because again, I am a realtor, I'm not a lender. So if you guys want to get deeper information and go further into that, just you can talk to a lender as far as that. Kotex Sita said, the throat clearing sounds like you're just starting the great adventure of this book. I wish I was. I'm trying to get I'm trying to get to I'm trying to get over the hump. NyQuil is my drink of choice. It makes me mellow with a raspy voice. Yeah, I've been like using NyQuil and I've been in and out like of sleep. So even like my friends have been hitting me up like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. But anyway, let's talk about these home sellers seeing profits dropping in regard to what we see at Adam. He said, did this work? Did this work? Did the NyQuil work? The NyQuil, it's working a little bit. It's working a little bit. I'm gonna try not to because I know if you guys keep hearing the sniffling, all that stuff, you're gonna be like, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to hear him sniffle the whole time and talk and cough. So I'm gonna try to kind of mellow it out. That's why I'm gonna go real slow a little bit, if you guys don't mind on this live. But it says home sales profits fell below 45% for the first time in 5 years. This was by the Adam team, and it was on April 23rd, 2026. So it's been a couple weeks since they released this. And this was from Irvine, California. Says that Adam is the leading provider of property data, AI-powered analytics, and real estate intelligence solutions. Today's released its latest U.S. home sales report, which shows the homeowners made a 44.1% profit on typical single-family home and condo sales during the first quarter of 2026. And as you guys know, we are now in the second quarter of 2026. That was down from 47.2% in the previous quarter and from 50.2% in the first quarter of 2025. That 44.1% profit margin is the lowest since the first quarter of 2021, continuing a gradual decline from the recent peak of 63.5% in the second quarter of 2022. So as you guys all know, around that time from 2021 to 2022-ish, more kind of bled in a little bit into 2023, the beginning of 2023. We saw a lot of high prices on homes. Everybody out there as far as trying to get the highest offer on their home. And because of that, we saw increased sales and profits from homeowners. And it depends on where you're located currently right now as well, because if you guys all know, that real estate is local and it's by your state, it's by your county, it's by your, the town, the city per se. So you could possibly still see in your state and in your city prices remaining high or not leveling off, or maybe just going up at a gradual pace and not really dropping. But it just depends on where you're at. Like you guys know, I'm in the South, so we are seeing drops. Despite the drop, margins remain historically high compared to pre-pandemic levels. And of course, the margins will remain high at the end of the day prior to pre-pandemic levels because most property values shot up in 2021 and 2022. And so we're now trying to get that those prices back down. We're trying to balance out, trying to correct and kind of put it on track as far as what we would see in regards to normal appreciation throughout the years. We are now going from the pandemic of 2020. We're now going into 6 years from that time frame. So prices are trying to still correct and level off depending on where you're located at, compared to also the your salaries and the income that is made. Home prices held steady quarter over quarter at 360,000, but were up 3% year over year from 350 in the first quarter of 2025. So again, as we all know, in regards to prices going up, it also factors in the whole thing of people buying more expensive property, right? So we are getting more affordable properties on the market depending on where you're located at. However, we are seeing less of those houses priced under 200,000 or 250, and we're seeing more homes priced at like 400,000 plus, 500, 600, 700,000, $1 million plus, right? So with that happening, we are going to see prices rise because we are seeing people pay more than they typically would pay for something that is of lower value, of lower price point. Most people, especially when they are moving up, they don't want to buy a house at a cheaper amount. They rather buy a more expensive house. And I am the person I always say, buy what you can afford, which makes sense. And also think about the long game, because real estate is a long game. And also taxes, insurance does go up, HOAs go up if you're in an HOA community, expenses go up as we're seeing now. As far as with this inflation, your gas is going up, your groceries are going up. So I'm always a person to say, think about the long run. And if we see a downside, which hopefully we might see in the current year per se, then you're able to kind of sustain yourself a little bit more and hopefully be able to save more, a little bit more. But I always tell people, buy what you can afford, make it make sense. Don't overbuy. Even if you feel like we're in a great economy, I still wouldn't overbuy, because the goal is to want to be able to pay your house off, as we discussed last video, using that amortization calculator. If you're paying if you're financing with a loan, and if you haven't paid cash. Nationwide, the typical single-family home or condo sold for a raw profit of $110,100 in the first quarter of 2025, down 5% from the previous quarter and 6% from the same time last year. So as you see, the profit, people are now wanting to take home six-figure profits. This is a conversation I have all the time with buyer clients, especially in this new era of real estate, where most times back in the day, most people that were buying homes, right? If you bought a home for $100-something thousand and you sold within the next 2 to 3 years, you weren't seeing a huge profit of six figures. You might be barely seeing 5 figures, right? And now we have this whole home seller mentality where they need to clear at least 6 figures, and a lot of it varies. Some of it could be, well, in order for me to, if I'm in a bigger house and I need to downsize and I haven't had a mortgage, I don't want a mortgage going forward. How do I cash out on this equity in my house to downsize, buy a house in cash and not have a mortgage? Or if somebody does have a mortgage that is a very low costing mortgage, again, they want to make sure they have enough income or profit per se from the home sale to be able to go and buy another house. So that's why you're seeing a lot of people wanting to clear that 6 figures. And then you have some people who just have investment properties. And at the end of the day, they're just trying to clear something out of it, depending on how long they've held it for. So if they held it for, let's say, 20 something years, they feel like, I want to try to clear what the current market value says on the house. Could those particular houses, investors, those hedge funds, those corporations, could they possibly lean a little bit on bringing the prices down? They can, and that's why you're seeing it in the Metro Atlanta area, where a lot of them are creating, putting these houses on the market at a lower value, which in turn is actually pulling down home equity and value from other homeowners who are homeowner occupiers, right? The first quarter is typically a slower sales season, and that was compounded this year by rising mortgage rates. We all know about the rates. After the record high home prices we saw last summer, prices appear to be leveling out. We always were talking about that. Depending on where you're at. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know how your real estate market is doing, because I am in the Metro Atlanta area, so I don't know what every market is doing. But let me know what you guys are seeing. Let me know, are prices leveling out? Let me know if you're seeing a dip in prices. Let me know if you're seeing appreciation in prices and how much of appreciation you're seeing. The profit margins sellers enjoy over the last few years, which were consistently over 50%, were unusual, which we all know. But even with the most recent dip, margins are still well above 30% return on investment sellers were seeing before the pandemic. So people are still seeing a massive amount of return. So with that being the case, most buyers, I would say, are saying, well, you can afford to go lower and your selling price because you're still making out with a profit, right? So a lot of buyers are tending to sit on the sideline or tending to go in with a lower offer, because they're like, hey, you can still be able to profit out of this, make some type of profit, maybe not 6 figures, but something where it can support you going forward. And so some buyers are becoming a little hesitant as far as wanting to purchase because they just feel like, I'm going on Zillow, I can see what you bought it for X, Y amount of years ago, and I don't think it's worth X amount of dollars that you're trying to sell it for. And so I'm gonna sit on the sideline. And because of that, some sellers are like, let me adjust the price, bring it down a little bit, and I'll lessen the profit if need be. And then you have some sellers that are like, I'm not doing it. I'll just pull my house off the market. I'll put it back on another time. I want all the money. I need the money. I need to adjust accordingly. And I don't want to take on a bigger mortgage, or I don't want a mortgage at all. Kotex Caesar said, my estimate went up about 40,000 this year in Denver. Wow, that's good, Kotex Caesar. So that means houses around you, are they selling? I'm guessing they're selling for a lot more money than they were the year before, per se, because if it went up about $40,000 according to Zillow's estimate, even though we know we kind of want to play around with that Zestimate because the Zestimate doesn't take into account of every factor, but you can look at it with a bird eye and kind of see, and then you adjust accordingly. But hey, that means that things are selling around you for more money than they were according to last year, it looks like. So these are some of the states and where they're saying like the profits are dropping. Profit margins drop in Florida metros, which we know rise in several Midwest metros. So we know that we're seeing a rise in profit in those metros. Seller profit margins fell quarter over quarter, 74.2%, 95 of the 128 metro statistical areas in Adams analyzes. Metro areas were included in the report if they had more than 1,000 home sales in the first quarter of 2026 and significant data to analyze. Profit margins fell year over year, 82.8%, 106 of the metros. This is the metro areas with the largest annual fell-offs in home sale profit margins were Ocala, Florida. They were down from 119.4% in the first quarter of 2025 to 58.1%. That's a lot of profit margin, 119%. And now you're at 58.1%. Yes, that's a big decline per se profit-wise, but that's 119%. That is crazy. Hey, what's going on, Donna? Appreciate you joining. Like I mentioned, the Kotex Sita, don't worry about the stuffiness in my nose and the raspiness in my voice. I'm going through a cold situation here, so I'm just don't mind me. I might sniffle a little bit and cough a little bit. Kotex C said, not sure if overall prices are going up. Okay, so you're not sure. You just saw what Zillow kind of gave that as his estimate according to what you see. So yeah, that's a big profit jump. However, that is a big, loss of from 119 to 58%. Says Punta Gorda, Florida, down from 78.9% to 54%. Lakeland, Florida, down from 62% to 38%. North Point, Sarasota, Florida, from 57.9% to 35%. And I forget how they say this. It's not Prescott. It's something else they say in Arizona. They say it differently, but it's down from 69.4% to 47%. Says the metros that saw the largest annual increase in profit margin. So these are the metros in which it increased as far as the home sellers' profits once they went to sell. They said Flint, Michigan went up from 65% to 81%. Evansville, Illinois went up from 40% to 53%. Lansing, Michigan went up from 48% to 57%. Canton, Ohio from 55% to 60%. Syracuse, New York, 67% to 72%. So as you guys can see, is the Midwest, Northeastern type of cities that went up and saw more in profits. Among metro areas with populations of at least 1 million, the largest annual drop-offs in profit margins were in Raleigh, North Carolina, from 49% to 33%. San Jose, California, down from 88% to 74%. San Diego, California, down from 69% to 56%. Sacramento, California, down 57% to 45%. And then Buffalo, New York, which is interesting because, again, as we mentioned earlier, you're in the same state, right? Syracuse went up, Buffalo went down. So you can still see a difference in price depending on what state you're in, just based on the city that you are currently living in as well. Kotex Caesar said, if the market fell 50%, I'd still profit six figures. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're talking about, right? Even if the market still fell in price, most home sellers who bought before 2020, let's say between 2022, let's really say 2022 to 2024, most home sellers, even if the market dipped, they would still see a profit of six figures, right? And so that becomes a topic and a conversation that I always engage in when I talk to home sellers and home buyers, right? People that want to buy, they're like, I don't want to pay this. Home sellers are like, I don't want to give this. But most home sellers, if you bought before 2020, you're still going to in this area, you're still going to possibly profit about six figures unless you refied. And what I noticed a lot on the back end with some of these home owners who bought prior to 2020, a lot of them have been using their house as a piggy bank. So a lot of them have been pulling out and refinancing, pulling the equity out and using it as a piggy bank, whether it is to repair stuff, whether it is that possibly they lost their job, which we'll talk about in a little bit as far as layoffs happening around the globe. And because of that, a lot of people are pulling out from equity. And unfortunately, what's happening is that some of the people that recently bought within the last couple of years that might have also lost their jobs, that might have a friend or a family member that bought 20 years ago, that family member might turn to them and say, hey, why don't you go and refi? Why don't you go and pull some equity out? And these recent home buyers probably won't be able to pull it out unless you're in a certain area where the profit margins are going up and you're seeing an appreciation still happening. So we'll see what happens, and we're going to get into a little bit of that in the next article in regards to some of these delinquencies when it comes to FHA loans, and we'll just talk a little bit about that. But it says margins remain low in major cities in Texas. Of the 128 metros and Adams and their data, it says 37.5%, 48 typical home sale profit margins exceed 50% in the first quarter. So as we go into that, it's showing those areas where they're seeing some profit and then also where they saw some loss. Let's get down here to right here. It says medium home prices rose in more than 2/3 of the metros. The national medium home price sales price held steady between the fourth quarter of 2025 and the first quarter of 2026. Let me see, recorder 1 second. All right, I'm back. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I just muted because I had to cough. Of 2026 at 360, but the median sales price rose annually 68.2%, 88 of the 129 metropolitan statistical areas with sufficient data to analyze. The metro areas with the largest year-over-year increase in the median sales price were, again, Birmingham, Alabama, Detroit, Michigan, Augusta, Georgia, Syracuse, New York, and Madison, Wisconsin. The metros with the largest year-over-year drops in medium sales prices were Cape Coral, Florida, Durham, North Carolina, Austin, Texas, San Francisco, California, and Ocala, Florida. And then we're seeing right here in regards to homeownership, tenure dropped slightly nationwide. Owners who sold their homes in the first quarter of 2026 had held them for an average of 8.44 years, down slightly from 8.46 year tenure for homes sold in the fourth quarter of 2025. So what that's telling me right here, and I could be wrong, I'm just going based off of what Adam has, is that if it's down, it's telling me people who have lived less in their homes, because this is on average, and since it's going lower, would make me think, based off of this data, is that we're seeing people who might have only lived in a home for less than 8 years, maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and they're trying to sell now. Typical to try to get out of it based on whatever's happening, right? The metros with the longest average homeownership tenure time between purchase and sale from homes sold in the first quarter of 2026 were Barnstable, Massachusetts for 14.97 years, Napa, California for 12.65 years, Springfield, Massachusetts 12.64 years, Santa Rosa's 12.56 years, and San Francisco 12.41 years. So these are the states, or when people, how long they kind of typically stay in their home average wise. So I don't know about you guys, where you guys are located at. Let me know what is possibly the average time in which someone stays in the homes where you're located at, or how long have you been personally in your own home? let me know how long you've been in your own home, because it's saying, of course, those are the places where people kind of stay longer in their homes. And then these are the metros with the shortest tenures in their homes. And the first quarter is Kansas City, Missouri, 6.9 years. Provo, Utah, 7 years. San Antonio, Texas, 7 years. Oklahoma City, 7 years. Panama City, 7.25 years. So let me know what you guys are experiencing. All righty. And then this is just going by lenders. It says share of homes sold by lenders grows. In the first quarter of 2026, homes sold by banks or other lenders account for 1.6% of all homes sold nationwide, sales nationwide, for 1.3% previous quarter, 1.45% at the same time last year. So these are showing homes in which the lender or the bank have sold. It's not a significant amount. However, they are saying that it is increasing, where they are seeing the banks having to be able to, or lenders selling people's homes, whether it be foreclosures, different things like that. All cash transactions down year over year. So they say in the all cash transactions are down. Nationwide, 41.7% of home sales were completed in all cash transactions, down from 42.4% at the same time last year. So that's still a lot of all cash sales, you guys. 41.7%. Kotex Caesar said 35 years, bought it 21 years ago. Wow. So yeah, at that point, if you're there that long, you might as just sell it out to the sun. Just sell it out to the sun. Been in there 35 years. Yeah, it's always interesting. Like when my grandmom and my grandpop on my dad's side, they built their house, bought 2 plots of land in Pennsylvania, built their house, and I believe my dad said was it the 50s or the 60s? I don't know. I think it was the 50s, but built their house around that time, and it's still in our family until this day. So it is, of course, it's paid off, but at this point, you might as well ride it out till the wheels fall off, right? No point of selling. Get it down to no mortgage. Just have those property taxes, and as long as most homes built way back in the day, they weren't in HOA communities, so most of them are just in typical neighborhoods. You don't really have an HOA. Of course, you still have city ordinance that you want to abide by, so you don't get local fines. Keep the grass cut, things like that. But at the end of the day, have a house paid off, no HOA. Yeah, depending on where you're at, because home values have appreciated, property taxes will go up, home insurance will go up for replacement costs, X, Y, and Z, as they say. But at the end of the day, you're still set without a mortgage. Denver's changed. I want out. Oh, no. No, not you want out. No. LOL. What grass? Oh, no. There's no grass around you? What is it? All sidewalk? All cement? Kotex Sita? All right. So, yeah, in regards to cash offers have gone down. Among metros with significant data to analyze the first quarter of 2026, markets with the highest rates of all cash sales as a percentage total sales were Honolulu, Hawaii, which is crazy. I don't particularly know real estate in Hawaii, but just from watching other realtors on YouTube and just looking into their data, it's like their properties is like millions of dollars. So 76.5% are cash in Honolulu. Wow. Okay. And Hawaii, period. According to what I see, that Hawaii has their real estate is very high. So I'm like, wow. 74% again in Hilo. I guess I'm saying Hilo or Hilo, Hawaii. 74% Athens, Georgia, which is about like an hour up the road from me. 67% were in cash. Naples, Florida, 66%, and then Utica, New York, 61%. Metros with the smallest share of all cash sales were Vallejo, California. I think I probably said that wrong. 23%. Bremerton, Washington, 23%. Olympia, Washington, 23%. Kennewick, Washington, 24%. There's a lot of purchases in Washington. And then Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 25%. So, and then it says institutional buyers scoop up smaller shares of homes. In the first quarter of 2026, homes sold to institutional investors counted for 6.6% of all homes sold nationwide, down from 6.8% at the same time last year. So again, this is nationwide. They are down. So institutional investors are buying still, but they're not buying like they were before. They're down a small percentage. And then it kind of gets into the places where we're seeing that. All right. And so let's jump over to here. If you guys want more, just visit Adam and they can give you a little bit more in that. He said, we got dirt in this neighborhood. Oh, okay. So it's just a pile of dirt, a pile of dirt. All right. So now let's kind of go into when it comes to some of what's happening, unfortunately, with some of these loan performances. And this is by Intercontinental, was it Intercontinental Exchange, I believe. It says ICE, and not that ICE, a different one. First look at mortgage performance, prepayments rise or recent refinance activity and serious delinquencies increase as a cure, rates slow. So outside of just the typical home sellers seeing profits dropping, we're also seeing people who are currently in their homes having a little delinquency issues in regards to their loans. Kotex said, it doesn't rain here. Water expensive. Water restrictions. City doesn't mind if you have dirt. Okay. So you need, so that makes sense in regards to having that dirt. They don't care about the grass. Atlanta and New York, Business Wire, Intercontinental Exchange, one of the world's leading providers of financial market technology and data powering global capital markets, today released the February 2026 ICE first look at mortgage delinquency, foreclosure, and prepayment trends. February saw, so this is from February 2026, so it is behind, as you guys know, when it comes to real estate. The data lacks a couple months behind. Aurora, Colorado has banned bluegrass. Oh, wow. Okay. They're serious out there without no grass. It says February saw a clear rebound in prepayment activity with speeds rising 14% month over month, 80% year over year as the wave of refinances triggered by lower rates in January reached closing. And so that's interesting too in regards to people trying to get a lower rate, which makes me wonder, because the rates haven't gone down that much. The rates were like what in the sevens, depending on those different type of, according to the different things in regards to like credit scores, debt to income ratio, blah blah. You got a certain rate. So the refinance to trigger refinances to try to lower your rate is telling me that there is some strain going on somewhere. It says delinquencies also hedged higher, driven by seasonal increases in early stage delinquencies and a notable rise in seriously past due loans. Though overall delinquency rates remain below pre-pandemic levels, these dynamics bear watching in coming months as default activity continues to trend off recent record lows. Key takeaways from this month's finding includes prepayment rebounded. The single month mortality, SMM, rate, a measure of prepayment speed, increased by 10 basis points in February to 0.82% and was up 80% from the same time last year. The uptick follows a refinance wave driven by January rates drop. So as you guys know, when we look back at the data, the January rates, the drop we saw, it kind of dipped into the high fives, low sixes. So it says delinquencies edge up in February. The national delinquency rate rose 7 BPS in February to 3.72%, driven by 4% seasonal rise in early 30-day delinquencies and a 3% rise in seriously delinquent 90-day plus loans. The rate is up 20 basis points from the same time last year, but remains 12 basis points below in February 2020 pre-pandemic benchmark. So at the end of the day, even though they are seeing an uptick of delinquency in these loans, they're still not coming to foreclosure, and some way, somehow, people are being able to work them out with the lenders. Because I always tell people, the bank, the lender, they don't want your house back. So if you can go talk to them, work out something. If you really do want your house, if you feel like you're not going to pay nothing, then I always suggest, if you feel like you can't handle it, you feel like I'm not going to pay nothing, I'm just going to ride this out and not even talk to the lender or the banker or whoever, then it might be best for you to talk to a real estate professional. And if there is some equity in the house, try to see if you can get out of the house, at least cash out and get money out of it instead of losing it in foreclosure where you don't get anything. Right. Well, I don't want to say you don't get anything because technically, if I'm right, I think I remember a lawyer told me this, that whatever the sale of the foreclosure is, and this might just be, I don't know if this is just in Georgia or if this is in every state, but whatever the sale and the foreclosure is or the tax lien is, if they overdo it and they satisfy all the liens on the property, everything that needs to be paid up to do, and there's still some excess money left there, if you go down to the courts or you talk to that particular lawyer, I believe you can get like the extra amount of money, I believe. But don't hold me to that, but I believe a lawyer told me that before. So combined serious delinquency and foreclosure volumes increased at the end of January, 878,000 loans. However, if you go into foreclosure, you guys mess up your credit score. So if you feel like you don't want to pay nothing, the best bet is to talk to a real estate professional and see what's the best way to kind of get out of it so you don't mess your credit up. But most people don't care. Most people file bankruptcy nowadays and they don't care about me. I guess at this point, if you haven't paid your mortgage in the last 3 to 6 months, it's like at this point, my credit score is already jacked up. So most people have it in their mind where they come to the thing like, when my credit score is jacked up, I might as well just file bankruptcy. It's not the best way or the healthiest way to kind of think about financial debt or problems in America, but most of us kind of just go about it that way. So, it's just, this is very, open and honest and transparent over here, you guys. Most sellers, or homeowners will go about it in a way where they feel like, I'm already behind, I'm not paying it already. What's the point? I might as well ride it out, stop paying, file bankruptcy, see how long that'll last, turn back around, and then within a year or two, lose it to foreclosure. Hey. Is it the best route to take? No, but most people will take it. At the end of January, 878,000 loans were in a state of severe delinquency or foreclosure. That figure is up 175,000, 25% over the past 4 months, the highest since 2022 and the highest since 2018 when excluding the immediate effect of the pandemic. FHA loans account for roughly 80% of the recent increase. And typically, most times you will see like the FHA loan or possibly even the VA loans kind of be the first ones to hit. And that's just because most of these people who are buying into real estate, either if you're putting no money down with a VA loan, of course, I always tell people you have to have some type of stake or skin in the game, right? Or you want to have enough savings put aside as well. And most people who utilize, the VA or the FH loans, they don't have but so much. And because of that, if anything moves up or adjusts somewhere, they have a hard time kind of bouncing back sometimes. And if they, lose a job, unfortunately, most people are barely getting by paying their mortgage month to month based off of their income, because it's not based off of your net. It's based off of the gross when the lender does that debt ratio and that monthly mortgage amount that you can quote unquote afford. And when that happens, most people are barely getting by to pay that mortgage. And then when those taxes go up, that property insurance, home insurance goes up, any type of things break in the house, maintenance occurs, different things happen and you're barely kind of swinging by. And with that being the case, most people just typically let things go. And it's like, hey, I can't afford this mortgage no more. Outside of people that might be conventional, because typically most conventional buyers in the past, recently, they've been doing less as far as percentage down on the house, but most of them will put 20% down or more because they didn't want the private mortgage insurance. So now they already have a stake. You have some stake in the game already, right? You have hopefully, if the market stays steady or appreciates a little bit, you'll have some equity in that house or some space in that house in regards to play with numbers if you had to sell the house going forward. And then that becomes like a possible thing that can occur for people that typically utilize conventional loans outside of like FHA and VA, where FHA is 3.5% down. So you're not really going in there with really enough, stake in the game. And typically you're already underwater once you purchase, if, depending on how the market moves. Some people who bought in 2020 got lucky. They went in with an FHA or VA, and the market blew up 40%, 50%, 60%, depending on where you're at. But people going in now, it's like you got to be very mindful how you're going in when you're purchasing a home, because homes aren't cheap. So they never were, and they aren't now. Cure rates have slowed. The rise in seriously delinquent loans is driven primarily by a decline in cure activity rather than a spike in new defaults. While the number of new loans that have become 90 plus days delinquent over the past 4 months have remained roughly flat on an annual basis. Cure rates among 90 plus day delinquent mortgages are down by more than 40%. So it says foreclosure activity is rising off recent records. February saw 35,000 foreclosures start, down 16% from January, up 7% year over year. Foreclosure declines 13% in the month, but rose 25% year over year. So as they're saying, like month to month, the foreclosure rates are down. However, on a year to year base, they're up. So it's probably up during certain times of the year. If I'm reading the way I'm reading it, I would say, okay, certain times of the year we're seeing a rise in some of these foreclosures, but just right now where we're currently at, we're seeing it kind of be down and decline. The share of loans in active foreclosure remains 6 basis points below pre-pandemic levels, though it rose by 4% in February and is up 25% from a year ago. And then it kind of goes down and touches more into this foreclosure sales and different things like that. And some of the states where you're kind of seeing some of these foreclosures. And as you guys can see, the numbers aren't like really that big, 8%, 5%. So they're big, but they're not really that big. And then you're seeing where they're not seeing that, they're not seeing that many. There's actually a negative. So, but yeah, so check that out if you guys want to know more about what's happening foreclosure wise. But I just wanted to bring that up because while home sellers are seeing profits dropping, some of these home sellers might also be allowing themselves to kind of go into foreclosure, especially in the Metro Atlanta area. We're seeing a lot of home people who might have recently bought to flip houses. And what I always see a lot that comes up on the foreclosure list down here is a lot of them are investors. A lot of them are people who bought houses, went to try to flip them, can't flip them, left them like abandoned, like mid-work projects. So they might have ran out of money, the construction loan per se that they took out. And then they hit foreclosure. And then I'm also seeing a lot of, unfortunately, people who are passing away that might have a mortgage paid off and the taxes have gone into tax auctions. And unfortunately, maybe family members or cannot afford to pay those taxes. And so those houses are hitting the market as well. So that's the only reason why I want to touch on like that part of it. Don't want to be a Debbie Downer. And I feel like every time I come over here, I'm a Debbie Downer. Like, again, of course, I would love everybody to be able to eventually have home ownership. Also, I would love for everybody, to be able to be a homeowner. But of course, it's not in the cards for everybody, and we have to be okay with that. Everybody is not meant to be a homeowner, nor does everybody want to be a homeowner. And it's okay. But this is just giving you, some practical information or things to kind of work with. Hey, Rhonda, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Appreciate you being here. Hopefully you are doing well. All right, so now we are going to get into, as you guys know, people are losing their jobs. So we'll touch a little bit on job layoff. And this is also while you'll probably see some people, some home sellers kind of not making as much profit as they were before. As we all know, in 2020, 2021, 2022, we saw a lot of these jobs actually increase, jobs. It's so funny. I'm saying job. Increase, more areas and spaces for people to be able to take on jobs at whether it be technology companies and different things like that. And now with this inflation happening and people profits are not profiting no more at the moment, we are seeing people lose their jobs. And with that being the case, you will see some home sellers seeing those profits dropping. And especially because a lot of it, as technologies jobs are kind of getting cut. So it's 20,000 jobs cut at Meta, Microsoft rise, concern that the AI-driven labor crisis is here. So more than 20,000 potential job cuts, which we know happened at Meta and Microsoft on Thursday, months after Amazon announced its most widespread layoffs ever, may only be the beginning. So we're not going to go in deep into this because we already know this is happening. So as you guys know, Microsoft has laid off people. Oracle has laid off people. As you guys also might know, if you saw today or the other day in the news, Spirit Airlines have shut down as well. So you will start to see some people that might turn around, or you might even see more homes come to the market too, depending on people's security when it comes to their savings or being able to find another job, because it is harder at this moment to also find a job. All right, and now, excuse me, sorry, y'all. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to show a video of a gentleman that's online. Some people might know of him. It's Nick. He is from Venture Consulting. I like to look at both sides of the scale, right? I like to look at what's happening from a positive perspective, what's happening from a realistic perspective, and also these people. A lot of people call these this gentleman and a couple other people are like the crash bros or whatever, looking for the housing market to crash, right? And I look at both sides because depending on where you're at, it's valuable to understand what's going on housing wise, and we have to be realistic of the situation. So this is in regard to him, and I wanted to play this video. I'm gonna speed it up a little bit, put some music behind it as well, and I'm using it based off of it being data on the fair use in regards to it being a video on the internet. But I just wanted to talk about this because he mentioned of him just purchasing a home in the Metro Atlanta area, and him getting about $100-something thousand off the home. However, it also depends on how you're purchasing a home, right? He purchased this home with cash. It's an investment property. So he breaks it down a little bit. He talks about his conversation. I don't know if you guys seen this already. He talks about his conversation he had with the realtor as far as buying a home, but he also talks about what him buying in cash, right? So the way in which you buy a home, if you're purchasing right now, it has to make sense. It can't be you want to, lowball a home $200,000 and you're using an FHA loan. It's not going to work. Or you're using a loan in which you're not putting anything down, whether it be FHA, VA, USDA. It's harder to kind of get a seller to want to be able to negotiate when you have those type of financing terms happening compared to someone that's cash or conventional, putting down a chunk of money in which they can verify. So let's see what he says a little bit about this. So I'm going to put this music on so we won't get hit for copyright strike. And we're going to let him talk. And let me know your thoughts in regards to this conversation he's having.
Ultimately, what I did when I bought my place in Atlanta, many of you now know that I purchased the property for $160,000 below the 2023 price. And what I want to do now is just actually show you the text conversation I had with the realtor when I made my initial offer on the house and how they responded. So you guys can kind of see how it goes, and you guys can know what to expect. If you do want to get a big discount, my discount was $160,000 from the 2023 price, $110,000 from the 2021 price. They had the house listed at like $415,000. I got it for $330,000. How did I do that? Well, the first thing I did, everyone, is that after I toured the house and after I sent the realtor liquidity verification, I told them that realistically, I think my offer will be substantially below list price, as I need to make it work from a rental perspective if I were to eventually rent it out. Would it be worth proceeding? So I, let them know, like, I'd like to make an offer, but it's going to be below list. And they said, sure, send us what you're honestly considering. So that's an important point, everyone. Like, when you make a below list price offer, let them know ahead of time that it will be below list and kind of explain why. You can then see I offered $315,000. Now, again, folks, this house sold for $497,000 in 2023, was listed for around $415,000. I offered $315,000. All cash offer with a 10 to 14 day close, no financing, no appraisal, short DD, no repair requests. And then they said it's significantly below what they're looking for, but they'll review. They then countered at $400,000. I said, thanks for checking. That doesn't work. I'm interested. I'm reviewing the numbers and can come back with a counter. They said, yes, please submit a counter. Just to frame it, folks. House was bought.
But you see what he said? He said he offered, in regards to him asking, he said he would, sorry, let me go back. He said no financing, no appraisal, short due diligence, no repair requests. So he was offering that low because he took a lot of stuff out of his contingencies. He took out that there'll be no financing. He's paying in cash. He said no appraisal, so he's not going to seek an appraisal on the property because, again, he is buying it below purchase value of $100,000. And he also said a short due diligence period, which is 10 to 14 days to close, and no repair request. So he's not asking for any concessions. He's not asking to have an appraisal. He's not asking for any type of he took a lot of the contingencies out. And I'm not saying everybody go and do this, because this is only works from if you are a more seasoned investor or someone who has purchased real estate a lot. But it's like, This is why you'll see a lot of these people online, or whether it be on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, saying, oh my God, I got $300,000 off the house, or $200,000 off the house, or whatever. Because if it's not already being kind of cut because of the severity of what's happening due to the home seller, whether the urgency of them or the distress to get out of said property, and if you're trying to purchase, and if it's a house that has been sitting, but they're slowly lowering the price, if you're going to come with an offer, you have to come with an offer that is kind of appealing to that seller in regard to getting that big slice or chunk off of the home purchase. So let's keep going.
No repair requests. And then they said it's significantly below what they're looking for, but they'll review. They then countered at 400,000. I said, thanks for checking. That doesn't work. I'm interested. I'm reviewing the numbers and can come back with a counter. They said, yes, please submit a counter. Just to frame it, folks. House was bought for 497 in 2023, 440,000 in 2021. It was listed for 415. I offered 315, 100,000 below list. They rejected it and countered at 400. You know, some people might say at that point, like, oh, give up, it's over. No, I was just like, okay, I'll maybe think about countering. Now, I actually didn't counter. I didn't do a counter to that. I let it sit. And then 2 weeks later, they came back to me and says, would you be interested in submitting an offer at 365? I said, thanks for the follow-up. I've looked at several properties since. I need to refresh my memory a bit on the numbers. And then I said, I can't make 365 work, but I can do 330 at this level would work for me for a rental. And then they accepted. Now, obviously my situation was a little unique. I had the ability to make an all cash offer, which obviously helped me. I could also do a quick close, 14-day close, no appraisal. That obviously helped me. However, for some sellers, having a pre-approval with a big down payment with a conventional mortgage is as good as cash. So you don't need all cash to be able to get these discounts, but you do need to be pre-approved. You do need to have a substantial down payment. If you're only putting 5% down, you're gonna have a difficult time securing a house at a discount. If you're putting 20 to 25% down and you can verify the liquidity with a listing agent, they're gonna take you way more seriously. And it's just really important that when you make these offers, you do it respectfully and you explain kind of where your head's at and why you're making the offer that you're making and where you need to be. I explained it using kind of the rental rate scenario. I'm running.
So as you guys can see in here, in regard to him, he might have gotten $100,000 off that purchase price. However, again, like he said in the video, he explained the reason for doing so. It is an investment property. They purchased it all cash. He did, 10 to 14-day closing. He did a short due diligence, no repair requests, no appraisal, no financing. It's all cash. So again, it matters because what's happening now is that a lot of people recently that I have been chatting with as far as buyers, a lot of people are sitting on the sideline because they are scared of the home prices, right? The current home prices and what prices are looking like, and they don't know if it's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to stay steady. But people are trying to wait, and they're hoping that even if they're trying to buy now, that they want to see if they can get a massive amount of a price off of the homes. And unfortunately, depending on financing terms, most of these sellers are not willing to give a massive amount off the price. So even though you're seeing people like Nick online and other people online that are saying they're getting these big discounts, or the the market is crashing or whatever, it's all based on percentages, and it's all based on how do you go about buying said property as a buyer. It varies. He's a cash buyer. He has the money. He has the liquidity compared to someone who's utilizing financing. So I just tell people, just be very mindful if you're buying in this market. Yes, you want to make sure if you're buying a house that you do get something that makes sense financially for you. And yes, are home sellers seeing profits dropping? Yes. However, as a home buyer, you want to make sure on your end that when you purchase looking at the whole picture and not the small picture. Don't purchase based off of what you see when you get your loan estimate from the lender that says, oh, they're estimating it about $2,000 a month. Base it on the principal, the interest, base it on the home insurance, base it on the taxes, base it on if you have an HOA, base it on gas, utilities, all those other things that matter, home maintenance, things that pop up as years go on. Like we said earlier, base it on all that, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully we've gotten into some information today in regards to home sellers seeing those profits dropping. Metro Atlanta is an area where the profits are dropping, but as you saw, we had some appreciation, or home sellers still making out with some money in Athens, Georgia. So again, it depends on where you're at in the state that you live in. Just like in New York, you saw it. Syracuse was down, but was it Buffalo up or Syracuse down? One of them was up and down, but you see that it doesn't matter if you're in the same state. Some some sellers are still walking away with profits, and some sellers are seeing a decline in profits. So it varies depending on your area. Always talk to a local real estate professional. Ask them if they can really give you the data, understand what the numbers are, understand your numbers as a home seller, as a home owner, as a home buyer, before just jumping into the real estate market. And that way you can make sure wherever you start at, you're starting on a, I guess you could say you're starting on a good note, I would say. So at the end of the day, I'll leave my information here if you guys want to reach out. My phone number, this is my business number, 678-995-3170. So allow me some time if you guys call me or text me to get back to you. And my email is DClarktherealtor@gmail.com. Also allow me some time. As I said, I am working through a code, and hopefully this code will be gone in the next couple of days. But I appreciate everybody joining me here this Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I hope to see you guys next Sunday as well. And if you have any questions again about real estate, reach out to me and I will talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye. Thanks everybody for joining. Appreciate your time.